Welcome, everybody, to the Montrose Vibes Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Lindberg. My co-host, Monica Garcia, is out for the weekend, but we have a very special guest. It is Ken Vail, owner and operator of Healthy Rhythm Community Art Gallery. Welcome, Ken.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. Now, you have a really interesting story. You came to Montrose just a couple years ago. We were talking about this the other day, but can you kind of tell the audience about how you ended up here in Montrose?
Sure. It's interesting because I was in Texas for a number of years helping my brother with my mom before she passed away. And then after she passed away, I kind of didn't have a whole lot left to do there, so I go, it's kind of time to go west. And I really looked at Oregon and Washington and Colorado. And so once I ruled out Oregon and Washington, I started looking at the Front Range. A friend of mine came through town in Texas, and she was going to Oregon, and she says, have you thought about the Western Slope? And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I think a lot of people here are hoping that people have that same idea, is that they don't know what you're talking about, so it kind of stays a hidden gem. And she said, well, it sits in a valley surrounded by adobes, rivers, and the Rocky Mountains. So she had my attention. And I go, does it have an airport? And so all these things just kind of came together, and Montrose ended up being like the place on the map that my dog and we loaded up the truck and off we went.
And so you got here, and you said where did the idea for an art gallery come about?
Well, it's interesting because I worked in the nonprofit world in the HIV/AIDS field for like 25 years, and I still do some consulting around it. But I also got to the point about 15 years ago to where I started thinking, well, I want to use the other part of my brain one day. I don't want to always be doing nonprofit. And I was always hanging around music, and I was always going to art galleries, and I was always drinking coffee. And I go, if I had an art gallery, this is the way that it would be. And so it was kind of an idea that I'd been thinking about for a while, and started out in Texas.
And so you got here and you found a spot in Healthy Rhythm. So can you just tell me how that just came to be?
Sure. Like I said, once I decided I was coming to Montrose, well, the next place was to find a space. I got on Craigslist, and I wasn't on there less than an hour, and I saw some pictures for the space that we're in now at Sampler Square, and there was 3 different rooms. It was about 725 square feet, and I said, if it looks half as good in person as it does in the pictures, let's do it. So having spent 5 years in Texas, I just called the guy up and said, like, I want the place, what's the cost to move in? And 2 days later, we had a signed contract, and I was on my way.
So for people who don't know, we're saying art gallery, but it really is more than that. You guys do a lot of concerts there. You're bringing in artists. You also represent some artists. Can you talk about just your passion for music and what's going on at the gallery beyond just typical art gallery things people would expect?
Sure. Of course, the art gallery, there's a lot of different types of art. One of the interesting things is you'll come in there and there's metal art, there's fine art, paintings, there's collectible screen prints, there's all different types of art. But it's really about art and music. But with under those 2 umbrellas, a lot of stuff falls. And so I started doing music in Texas and realized that music was really a way to get people into the gallery. And so I was actually going to wait 3 or 4 years here and kind of get a sense of what the area was like and the music. And one day I was walking up the stairs, heard a friend of mine playing, and I said, I haven't talked to him in a while, and took a couple more steps. I said, maybe I should send him an email and see if he wants to play a show. And that's how it started out in December of 2016. And I was only thinking we were going to do maybe a show a month. And we actually did 35 shows in 2016.
Wow.
2017. Yeah, 2017.
It's a busy year, and you had a variety of acts come through.
Right. We've had folk, we've had pop, we've had, most of it is Americana folk, but this coming Friday, we actually kind of ended up on the international stage. We've got a lady coming, she's on world tour, her name's Fia, and she's on tour from Sweden, and one of her friends here told me about her, and so I contacted her, and we ended up setting up a date for her to play here.
That's going to be an exciting show.
Yeah, and the great part was I got up the next day, I go, and I put in quotes, I go, well, now we're international. So I got up the next day, and I actually had an email from Dublin, and there was a trio in Dublin that wanted to play a show here as well. And I go like, okay, now we're international.
Wow. Well, let's talk about the real star of the gallery, though, which is your dog, your dog, and probably your best friend.
Butters.
Right? Butters.
Butters, definitely. He's in a lot of ways, he is the way in which I think people feel comfortable in coming into an art gallery, because oftentimes you come into an art gallery, it's kind of like going to buy a car. People are, they're kind of offsetting, and they're not sure that they're not going to be sold something right off the top. But when they see this little Puggle Butters run up to them, it just kind of melts all of that away, and he's like the greeter. And he's, like you said, he's my best friend. I've had him since he was 3 months old, and he'll be 11 years old in September.
Wow. And the gallery, obviously, you're talking about the Sampler Square, the west end of Maine. That's kind of, it's coming together. There's a lot happening west end of Maine. You have Cimarron Coffee Roasters in there. You have the distillery opening up. Colorado Outdoors is not on Main Street, but that's just up the way from where you're at.
Right.
Can you talk about, I know you're involved with the DDA, but just West Maine and why your heart's in that.
Sure. I think that, once I moved in there and saw, that the need for, a voice on West Maine, that's when I got involved with the DDA, and so I could push the issues that that the zone runs from the river to San Juan, and so then all of these things started happening that were probably in the process before I got here. But Mayfly, which is this 159-acre, the big project you were talking about, is coming to fruition, and then on the corner we've got the Storm King, distillery coming, and it's getting ready to open. And I can't say enough about Cimarron Coffee Roasters. My relationship with Eric there and the staff, we cross-promote each other, and it's not about he really has to super sell his coffee, or I really have to super sell the music or the art. He tells people, there's an art gallery upstairs that's really neat, you should go check it out. And I tell people there's really great coffee downstairs. So it's really beneficial.
Nice collaboration.
Yeah, it is. It really is true collaboration. And in regards to the music, I've had a couple of conversations with Josh at Intrinsic about bringing in some bands from Los Angeles. And like you and I talked yesterday, they could do a bigger show at his venue, and they could do a more intimate show at my venue. And it really shows how the people involved in music here that's really starting to grow are working together and not just in their own little worlds.
You think that's important, the key to the DDA success?
I absolutely do think it's important. I think that any good business that's going to be sustainable, has to collaborate.
Okay. Well, honestly, Ken, that's all I had for you today. It's always fun catching up with you. There's a lot going on at Healthy Rhythm. Remind them where they can find Healthy Rhythm online.
Yes, Healthy Rhythm is located at Sampler Square. It's on the west end of town. It's at 68 South Grand Avenue.
You're on Facebook?
We're on Facebook. Our website is www.healthyrhythm.net. And if you haven't gotten a seat, there's a few seats left for tomorrow night's show for FIA, so come on out and see what it's all about.
Come check out Ken's Gallery if you haven't been there. There's a lot going on. It's a fun place, and Ken's just a really nice, and I'm using the same word, but nice and kind individual, so you won't want to miss it. And Ken, we appreciate you coming on.
Well, Matt, can I add one more thing?
Yep.
One more thing I wanted to say that I've gotten involved with here is I've been able to keep my foot into the social services world that I was working in.
That's right.
Is that I'm now I'm actually overseeing the pretrial services for Montrose County. And what's really neat is I meet the clients at the gallery, and it's a really relaxed atmosphere. And we made some super progress just in the 6-8 months that I've been working with Doug Hanshaw. So I wanted to make sure that people knew about that as well.
So Ken's pretty busy, and those 2 extra hours he's not doing anything. He sleeps, but then he's back at it the next day. So, yeah, thank you, Ken.
Well, thank you, Matt, and just for the gallery and the folks down at Sampler Square, we're really going to miss you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.